podcast.
All right, welcome back to the Outdoor Drive podcast, episode 162, and probably going to be a really, really good one. We are here in the studio. It's your boy East Coast Trev, and I'm also joined by the Madman Mardik.
What's up?
How are you, buddy?
Good, how are you?
Good, man. How's things, dude?
Good, man. Just grinding away.
It's finally cold and it feels more like deer season. The leaves are coming off the trees. Like it feels like deer season, man. I didn't really have the feel for deer season until now. I honestly feel that deer season is upon us. We're starting to see some of these deers hit the scrape. It's getting cold. Guys are knocking down some good deer. They're starting to do that pre-rut thing. We're hearing of some things down in Eastern Shore where the stags are chasing around the hinds. You know, bear season is kind of kicked off and kind of closing out. They're still on the dogs, but there's just a ton of really good things. We're in the meat and gravy of the beginning of the season. And it's nice. It really honestly is nice. I'm pumped. I think that this season is going to be something to write home about. I really truly honest did. I mean, you knocked down a giant buck already this start of the season, and I don't think it gets any better than this. I really don't, man.
Yeah, and it's just going to get better from here on out, too.
I mean, considering, like, guys are starting to see oaks that are dropping. They're starting to see.
I can't find an oak dropping to save my life.
I said some guys, dude. I didn't say you. I didn't say me. I just said some guys are starting to see where the oaks are starting to drop and things are starting to get good and things are starting to put into play, man. It's definitely a blessing. We're coming to the end of the fall run as striper season kind of comes down. The fishing is phenomenal. Some of the best I've seen in years, especially closing out the season. We had multiple fish over 50 pounds. I mean, it's just, I don't know, man. I know I'm rambling, but I'm just excited. I truly am excited.
It's been a great year so far.
I know.
And we're now it's Super Bowl time.
It is Super Bowl.
We're down to this is the end.
This is the playoffs.
That's right.
It's about to be happening. It really honestly is. Why don't we thank the sponsors before we get a little bit crazy? Because I know that this podcast is something that
this one's gonna
you
get
guys
wild.
You guys are not gonna be ready for this. I promise you. You are not ready for this podcast. I'm gonna whip open my notebook here because
hide your kids, hide your wife.
Yeah, I suck at everything. So I gotta whip out the old handy dandy notebook like Steve from Blue's Clues would say. So first off, let's thank Huntworth Gear. Huntworthgear.com, some of the best camo on the market. You got 100% of what Sitka and all of the other big named expensive camos are for 20% of the price. Speaking of 20% of the price, they're actually doing 20% off right now because the hunting season is here. So if you guys haven't already, get on over to huntworthgear.com and get yourself some of the best camo on the market. Bow Fishing Magazine, probably the last time you guys are going to hear from them. We're getting down to the nitty-gritty on, it's not the summer no more, and we're getting into the fall, but Bow Fishing Magazine, Mr. Nick Sampson over there from Mob Squad, tearing it up on the E magazine, dude. Absolutely killing it. Great place to go. If you guys aren't subscribed, get on over there. Then our man Mark up at Nor'easter Game Calls, doing big things up there. He's got a new laser. I feel as if there's going to be some outdoor drive tumblers coming out of there, some really cool things. He's doing some amazing things as always. Mark is always doing some badass stuff up there, so check him out, nor'eastergamecalls.com. There's probably some, I don't know, was there any I can't even think. Some of them special ones. The Jurassic series. Was there any Jurassic series left, or he's all done with those things?
I don't know. I haven't looked.
Yeah, I don't know.
But I know I got mine, so if you didn't get one, then shame on you.
Yeah, right. So there's definitely some that have it and some that don't. But
he's always got something. It might not be Jurassic series, but he's gonna have.
But you could always get something made up, something custom if you want. But hit them up, nor'eastergamecalls.com. Also, Zeus Broadheads. It is the official broadhead of the Outdoor Drive podcast. Now the Hera is in the house, and it's the new kid on the block. So make sure to go and check them out, newairarchery.com. While you're over there, check out B16, Steady Form, and all the other great things that they're doing over at New Air Archer. And last but not least, my man, Matt Chichola. I know that's wrong, but I'm going to keep with it. I'm going to nickname you the Chichola Man. And
there's no H in it.
I don't know.
Where do you get the chuff from?
So then what is it?
I did a little research.
Okay.
It's Katoya.
Oh, well, that makes kind of more sense. That makes way more sense.
Yeah, you keep putting H's in there everywhere and getting the ch.
But what was it? Chachio?
Katoya.
Oh, Katoya. Well, I like Chachio or whatever I say because I think it's way better. No?
I don't think so.
All right, anyways, well, you can go and check him out, vitalgroundoutdoors.com. I know he's been super busy. His website goes on and off depending, so you got to make sure to get it when he can get it, when the getting's good. He's got some really good stuff. For you guys that are last-minute guys, probably not the way to go. You got to get ahead of your stuff and get your AM steel and your mods before things get kind of crazy. So check him out, vitalgroundoutdoors.com. And thank you all for supporting us, and make sure that you guys go and check all those guys out. While you're in the process of checking things out, when you guys are on iTunes, make sure to leave us a 5-star review. Hit the subscribe and notification button on all social media platforms, whether it's TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. Always a lot of good social media stuff going on, so make sure to go and check that stuff out. I know we're kind of getting a little bit interrupted here. I hear something coming in. Let's key them in real quick. All right, guys, why don't we buckle up and see what's going on in the world of news with Mr. Mike Salter.
Hey everyone, we're going to start this one off in Maryland, where the Fish and Hunt Maryland launched its statewide fly fishing trail on September 24th, marking the 50th anniversary of National Hunting and Fishing Day. The online tool provides an in-depth resource for finding unique places to fish through a collection of 48 trail sites across all 23 counties. Each trail site page includes information on fish species, water types such as fresh or tidal, cold or warm, etc., recommendations on techniques, flies best used at each site, and access details. The site also identifies nearby businesses that provide expert knowledge, guides, supplies, and equipment rental and sales. The site also provides anglers with useful travel and regulation information. The trail can be accessed at fishandhuntmaryland.com and should be a great resource for anglers. Now to some national news, where the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service announced their 2022-23 hunting and sport fishing regulations. The regulations include opening of 2 new refuges to hunting and fishing, and expansion of opportunities on 16 other refuges. Additionally, various national wildlife refuges will require or have proposed non-lead ammunition and tackle by fall of 2026. Pacoda River is the only refuge currently with a final non-lead requirement, but 8 others have proposed rules to take effect in 2026. The U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service is going to monitor lead use on their refuges and will be providing opportunities to comment on the proposals for these 8 refuges during the 2023-24 rulemaking next year. So be on the lookout for that. Now to Utah, where hunters are being asked to bring their harvested deer to various stations across the state so Division of Wildlife Biologists can test the animals for chronic wasting disease. Hunters who go to the check stations will receive a free CWD test if they harvested the deer in one of the units being sampled, which those units are rotated every year. The hunters will need to leave about 6 inches of the animal's neck and windpipe attached below the jaw so the DWR can remove the lymph nodes for sampling. The DWR employees will also ask hunters a few questions, including where the animal was harvested, and the entire process will only take a few minutes. Check station locations can be found on the Division of Wildlife's website, and hunters can also contact the DWR Cedar City office for a list of taxidermists and meat processors, which will also take CWD samples. Now to California, where I reported recently a new law prohibiting all advertising of firearms and firearm-related products to youth. Thanks in part to the National Wild Turkey Federation, a corrective bill was signed into law last week. NWTF's Juniors Acquiring Knowledge, Ethics, and Sportsmanship, or JAKES program, was directly impacted by not allowing NWTF to distribute its Jake's Country Youth magazine to youth members or include firearms in banquet auctions. The corrective language exempts from the ban any advertising that is offering or promoting events related to firearm safety, hunting and sport shooting, or promoting membership in any organization. So this is a huge win for sportsmen and especially for engaging youth in California. Lastly, a couple items out of Vermont. First, Novice Hunters Weekend is fast approaching on October 22nd and 23rd, and deer hunters are being encouraged to participate. To be eligible, you must be 16 or older, have passed your hunter education course, purchased your license, and possess a free Novice Weekend tag, and you have to be accompanied by an unarmed adult 18 or older who holds a resident Vermont hunting or combination hunting and fishing license. The weekend is designed to give teens and adults who are new to hunting knowledge of deer behavior and hunting, woodscraft, and to pass on safe hunting practices and responsible behavior. The Department of Fish and Wildlife encourages anyone interested to contact the Hunter Education Program with questions. There's really a great opportunity, which has had a lot of success in recent years, so get those new hunters out there. And we have a new record moose in Vermont. On opening morning of the 2022 moose season, Corey Pangborn harvested the second heaviest moose ever taken in Vermont and the new record for archery. Corey's bull tipped the scales at a whopping 1,018 pounds to take the archery record. So congratulations to Corey on the bull of a lifetime. With that, as always, if you have any news to send along to me, please do so. It's greatly appreciated. You can reach out to me at Mike Salter on Facebook or bearded_bowhunter21 on Instagram. With that, enjoy the rest of your ride.
As always, thank you, Mike Salter. We appreciate the news for your crews on this episode and everything that you do for us here at the Outdoor Drive Podcast. If you guys haven't already, make sure to send them over some news.
Hey, how about that? Did you see about that walleye fishing tournament?
Oh, my God. As always, dude. Like, that is one of the craziest things ever. Like,
it's one of those things
big money,
you
too.
always hear about that kind of stuff, with the fishing weights. But, it really happened. Like, there's video footage, it's wild.
Yeah, and they had been doing it, they had been suspected to doing it for a while.
Yeah, they had, I don't remember the details, but they had won 2 or 3 of the last 4 tournaments or something like that.
Yeah, and
it was a lot of weight.
They were gonna kill. Yeah, they had 16-ounce egg sinkers that they were dropping in there, dude. Come on, guys, get your shit together, dude. There's no need to poach, and that's a felony offense. I had found out. I did a little research. That's a felony offense because it's over $5,000 or $3,000. So they're actually getting legal actions taken after them for doing such a thing. Yeah. So absolutely ridiculous. But hey, when you deserve it, you deserve it. I mean, what do you want from us? So
yeah.
Well, and it's kind of crazy as we're doing this intro. The boys from this podcast are on their way in as always. So. What do you think, man? Should we bring them in here and get this party started?
Because buckle up now.
Yeah. For you guys that don't know, we're gonna have our good buddy Jake Bennett on here, and he's bringing one of his crazy friends also. So this ought to get rough, wild. Why don't you put your Crocs in 4-wheel drive? Because we're about to take you on a serious ride. All right, guys, welcome back. We are on the phone. Do you guys have a name, a duo name, or is it just Jake and Maurice?
Thunder Buddies.
The Thunder. Oh, you guys are you guys spend the times in the mountains as Thunder Buddies.
Thunder Buddies.
That's impressive.
This year it was the Four Fools.
That was all Jake.
Yeah, this year it was the Four Fools.
The Four Fools. I like it a lot, man. I love it. So. Appreciate you guys taking the time to join us here on the Outdoor Drive Podcast. I know that you guys are pretty busy. You guys, being nurses and doctors and all that good stuff. I know that things are kind of crazy for you. So spending time with a bunch of hooligans that don't know what they're talking about is probably going to be tough for you guys. No?
Oh, no, it's no problem. We do it every night.
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
I wasn't doing anything today.
We're good.
It's not like I don't have 14 kids and a wife.
So you're used to this.
Yeah.
This is straight normal. Well, why don't we turn the key, get this thing underway? Why don't you boys introduce yourself, tell everybody who you are, where you're from, and what you guys do.
So my name is Maurice Loeffel, live here in the South Shore, Mass. I'm an overnight emergency room physician, but when I'm not at work, Jake and I are super passionate about elk hunting when we're not deer hunting here in Massachusetts. So we're hoping to share a little bit of our stories with you guys tonight about our elk hunts.
That's awesome. Absolutely. And Jake, why don't you reintroduce yourself? I know that you don't really need much of an introduction, but why don't you tell everybody who you are, man?
From
FBI, CIA.
That's right. I'm Jake Bennett from previous hunt stock fame. I'm a male nurse. I'm a mediocre hunter, lousy husband, probably even worse father, and but I can dance like a son of a bitch.
That's very important, Jake.
I'm a part-time flash dancer. So
I thought you actually came in on the food truck. We didn't really actually know what you did at Huntstock until we had released a podcast with you, but we'll just leave that for another day.
Yeah. That was fun times. That was a good night. That was a good night. Yeah,
it was. So you guys, you boys ventured off to the west. You guys have done that a bit of times, or does that even make sense? Bit of times?
No. It's just our 4th year, right?
It's our 4th year together. Yeah.
Yeah.
And you'd done it before I had.
This is my 6th year hunting elk. and fourth year with Maurice.
Wow. So
Yeah,
what?
my fifth year overall.
Wow. What made you guys want to like kind of venture out there? Because it's kind of a scary thing. I mean, it's not like you guys are going with the outfit. You guys are pretty much DIY, doing it
Yeah.
yourself, and kind of how did you guys learn the ropes? Like just a ton of YouTube or?
Well, the dispensaries out there are awesome, so that's why we decided on Colorado. All right, Maurice, I'll start. You take. So 6 years ago, a friend of mine who is a professional athlete bought a place. He said, "Hey, you should come with us. We're gonna DIY." We used to go at the end of August, early September. We used to chase them when they're not bugling in the first 2 years. I was like, man, I want to. They bugle once in a while. I was like, man, I want to get into when they're bugling, and we always had shot opportunities. And then Maurice and I became friends, and I think it was my second year going. Maurice actually has a friend that was in the hunting industry that died from pancreatic cancer, and was a big elk hunter. And Maurice loaned me his pack to take, and Maurice eulogized his friend and gave me a copy of his eulogy, and I read it on the plane. And Maurice was like, I want you to read this because I think you'll understand why I feel like you two have this connection between his friend who had passed and myself. And I read it and it was amazing. And we hunted and I actually shot my first elk that year. And I took the eulogy and I buried it under a rock at about 11,400 feet overlooking this canyon. And actually, that's where we stay now, is overlooking this amazing view. And I was like, man, Maurice had told me stories how he had gone elk hunting before and it was terrible. And I was like, man, I gotta bring him out here. So I got the okay from my friend, and then Maurice and I kind of started doing our own thing out there. And now you can take over from there.
Yeah, and for me, it was a real natural progression. I grew up deer hunting in Illinois, shotgun, a little bit of bow hunting, but pretty much I finished college in Montana, and I was completely hooked on rock climbing, aid climbing, backcountry camping, and hiking. So it was a great combination. Jake has a world of experience hunting, especially bow hunting, and then I've got a ton of experience in high altitude environments and sort of I guess staying alive in the survival aspect. So I felt like we were a really good combination, bringing those two skill sets together.
Yeah, if it wasn't for me, for Maurice, I'd be out there like a pair of Levi 5.65s and like Chuck Taylors and a bivy sack.
Garbage bag.
Yeah, garbage bag to stay dry. Cut the head out of it, make a poncho. Maurice taught me how to how to survive at 12,000 feet.
What is it? What is really the difference in surviving at 12,000 feet over say 500 feet? You know what I'm saying? Like what really is some of the things that you have to prepare for at that altitude?
You die like that at 12,000 feet. I'm still feeling the effects of it coming down, and it's been a week today. A week today. We got it at midnight Tuesday a week ago, and I'm still blowing my nose, and it's nothing but blood coming out. So it's.
Well, I think the biggest change in mentality when you go out to hunt in the mountains is if you're going to go sit your tree stand for 10 hours, you bring a little something to eat, a little something to drink, and if things get ugly, you just go into your car and you go home. If you're out 4-6 miles from camp and you're up at 10, 11,000 feet, you've got overnights in the 20s and you've got daytime temps in the 70s, and you get caught in the middle of a storm and you're stuck out all night. You got to be, every single time you go out, you have to be prepared to stay out at least one full day. That's food, that's clothing, that's water, that's some sort of water purifying source. So, when you go for your regular day hike, we're carrying 30-pound packs, which seems kind of obnoxious, but man, we got stuck in the rain one full day and, pulled out all the layers, put out a tarp. It just makes your ability to be comfortable.
We packed out an elk. Pouring rain, trying to cut an elk. You try to hold on a backstrap in pouring rain, and your fingers are shaking and cramping because it's little jet in the morning, it's 35, 38 degrees. You're trying to cut out a backstrap and your hands are all like shaking. It's raining so hard you have your packs under the tarp that you pack in just to put the meat on. So,
but that after you've just cut that animal up, you have the confidence to say, okay, I'm going to pitch my tarp. I'm going to start a little fire. We're going to warm up. We're going to have some lunch, and then we're going to hike this meat back, as opposed to this panic situation, which is the biggest thing you want to avoid when you're out there.
Yeah. If you panic and start walking, you will get yourself in such a deep hole. You will be in deep, deep shit.
So you just need to kind of gather yourself, sit
Sit,
down,
sit
relax.
down, have a smoke and a pancake, chill the fuck out, and then proceed forward with intelligent decisions. That's I don't naturally have the intelligence, as you guys probably have understood. So Maurice has taught me how to utilize maps, topography, use Onyx, whatever, hunt maps, whatever it is, base maps, whatever, to use the terrain to your benefit.
So when you get, speaking of maps and topography, like what are you doing e-scouting? Because obviously you're not going to go there and scout, right? So like you're going to e-scout from home and look at
Oh
maps and
no,
stuff.
you scout on the fly. You
Oh,
scout like so. So the thing is, I know 4 mountain ranges. We just scouted beforehand that. Excuse me, sorry. Jeez, I'm still like having this high altitude crap. But when Maurice and I sit down, we'll literally sit down once a week when we get a month out and talk. Like, this is our plan. Like, if we're not an elk, we are going to get up at 3 in the morning and road bugle, walk, find them. We're not going to go to bed until we hear bugles. We're going to. Luckily, we knew we were in elk every single day. We had 4 different mountain ranges that I know from the past, but also you look at maps and access. I've got a buddy, Cody Chandler, who actually lives out there. Who you never ask somebody for like, hey man, give me a freebie. But he's like, yeah man, there's good elk here. Check this spot if that spot doesn't work. But you check it, but and Maurice will verify this. I have never seen so many elk hunters in my entire life
I
as I
think
did
that
this
was
year.
that was probably the toughest challenge this year is that just like you mentioned, okay, so where did you e-scout? How did you e-scout? I mean, everybody's doing the same
Everybody's
thing,
e-scouting. Yeah,
right? All
everybody's the
right,
same thing you're doing.
where's water? Where's the north facing slopes? Where are the escape routes? And this was a spot we'd hunted 3 other times and knew the area pretty well. So we kind of knew where the
And
wallows
it was
were.
smoking. It was smoking the last 2 years we hunted it.
Yeah.
Bugle fest every
Wa-
day. Went to bed, taking it. You step outside and take a pee, and you hear bugles at 3 in the morning.
Yeah. So we kind of had to change it up. The first 2 days, we shot a bunch of bugles like we normally would, had a bunch of hunters answer, actually called in a couple hunters.
Josiah, dude,
And
Josiah.
and what children of the corn.
I'm gonna rewind a little bit. We got there the first day and we're unpacking, and our good friend Sean, who's famous, our good friend Sean Hines shows up. He lives in Fort Collins. He brought us Tacoma with like 20 gallons of water
Oh
and
man, he
cooking
was like
stuff.
a full
Dude,
outfitter.
we called him a cookie. It was unbelievable. And so my buddy Doug, who's been my best friend since I was 3, had never elk hunted his life. We're getting unpacked, and I'm literally sitting there with no shirt on, which Maurice will tell you I don't wear a shirt ever.
That's
And
going to be December for his calendar, by the way.
that's right. We're sitting there, and all of a sudden, Doug comes flying in the area. He goes, "Dude, I just heard my first bugle." I was like, "What?" He goes, "Just heard my first bugle." And so we're kind of dicking around outside, and I was like, "Oh my god!" And look at Maurice. Maurice was like, "Listen, we're gonna set up camp. You and Doug should chase it." And we chased it. And then we got to this one spot, and a mile down this pitch, we heard a bull bugle. And at nighttime, your thermals switch and kind of go down as it cools off. And up on top of the mountain at about 12,000 feet, they heard another bugle. I was like, man, we're going up. Thermals are coming down, not that, but when it's dark, I don't like walking uphill to camp. Chased it. Long story short, called in this hunter named Josiah. Little did we know, he was a super nice guy. Little did we know, the next day we called him in like 3 miles away. The same goddamn hunter called the same guy Josiah in 3 miles away. Like,
At the same time, we were playing a bull, though.
Yeah, a real bull. So sorry, Morris. Didn't mean to cut you off.
No worries. So I think that Jake will probably agree that the biggest adaptation we had to make for this hunt was the first 2 days we pretty much hunted as we always did. We hiked everywhere, we called, we waited for a response, and we tried to chase. The bulls were more quiet. And
we killed on day 2.
You killed on day 2, and that was because we went to the valley that was opposite where we had seen all the people.
Yeah. Yeah, and then we stuck to that side, and we were in elk every day.
And ultimately, as opposed to really calling as much, we would sit there and glass. And if we could just find 1 or 2 elk, we pretty much went straight to a stalk mentality. And if they started talking, when we got close enough, we'd talk back. But that wasn't what we were normally accustomed to. We could usually call and just go for it. Now
get aggressive. We ran this other guy named Adam. And so the night we killed, which is night 2, morning 2. Night 3, we went way down low, thinking maybe the herds got. And everybody we ran into was like, "There's a herd of 100, and there's a herd of 50 in here, and there's 2 great big herd bulls and tons of satellites." We're like, "Great, where are they right now?" Because we couldn't find them. So we're like, maybe the pressure pushed them down low into private. So we went down there. And here's the thing: is we're never bored hunting in Colorado. It's the most beautiful it's the most beautiful place in the world to me. Like you got sage, you've got aspen. I've got aspen tattooed on my forearm. Like I love it out there. It's unreal. And it was just getting right. The wind was slowing down. I let a bugle rip, and then there was a delayed response of this screamer. They were like, "Yeah, we're in it." And then we go down. We start working. He screams back, and we start working down this ridge towards him. And I let a really nasty like lip ball bugle go, just. And this guy, because we found it was a guy, he cut me off half bugle. And Maurice looks at me and goes, "Dude, you just got elk 101. You just got elk 101. You just got Corey Jacobson." Because they teach you, like, cut, if you want to piss a big herd bull off, cut him off. So we're like, whatever. It's a guy. We left. The next day, he's like, "Oh, yeah, I had this great big bull going down there." I was like, "That was me." I was like, "Did you cut him off?" He goes, "Yeah." I'm like, "That was me."
He goes, were there a bunch of cows with him? I go, yeah, there were three of us.
Yeah, there were three of us. Mew, 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 mew. Yeah. So like, that's when we decided, because the next day we had killed, Maurice killed a 5x5 3 years ago. Yes, 3 years ago. Was it 3 miles, Maurice? 4 miles?
Yeah.
From where we are now on the other side. It's this big mountain. On the other side of this mountain, and there's this like 800-foot descend into this gully. I call it the Devil's Crotch because it's the worst thing in the world. And it took us 2 days to get an elk out of there last time. So we went all the way down through all through this and that. We came across old elk sign and a lot
Jake,
of blueprint.
I have to stop you for 1 second. So going back to being prepared.
Oh, yeah.
So that 3 years ago, Jake's dad was with us.
He was
Jake's
69 years old.
69.
69.
The man is a little hiking hobbit. we start carrying meat back. He has like the
it's a Bass Pro Shop backpack.
Bass Pro Shop, 2-zipper backpack, no frame, no chest strap,
half a bottle of water.
And we open it up. What's in there? He's got a hat. He's got a half a bottle of water, probably from 2 weeks ago.
One Pop-Tart.
A Pop-Tart. and he carries about 15 pounds of meat for us.
Yeah. No. Time out. And he had rocks in there because my dad's building his chimney with rocks on it. And he kept picking up lava rocks and putting them in his backpack to bring them all the way back home to put in his chimney.
Yeah. So he's got 60 pounds, 40 of it's rocks, 15 of it's meat, and five of it's water and a snack. And
rugged as a winter tire.
Oh my God.
It was unbelievable.
But I get the baby bird. So I get him halfway up the mountain. He's like, "I got to have water. Who has water?" So we have our camelbacks, and I go, all right, Bruce, I'm gonna drip the water in your mouth. And the minute I had that nipple over his mouth, he took that thing like a baby to a teat. Like, Bruce, I can never use that again. He's like, "Well, that means more water for me. Thanks, buddy."
That's absolutely priceless.
So I kept popping it off and just drinking it straight. Oh my God.
Yeah.
All right, sorry.
Hey, I know. I've got a picture here of. I don't know if you guys can see pictures on this.
Oh yeah, you can tilt it down just a little bit.
So that's my dad sitting there
over.
Hang on. Let's see what we get here. I don't know. You can see I've got a hobo sack.
Oh yeah, I see you. Okay,
I've got a hobo sack over my shoulder with what more? 65 pounds of meat.
Yeah, Jake's pack wasn't much better. He went Santa Claus method.
Yeah, my dad's sitting there. So what happened was, I had the Sitka Apex pack, which is in a frame pack, and I'm like, I'll be fine. I'll just muscle it out. That's fine. It was a soft frame pack. I literally had a meat bag, like a hobo sack. And the next day, my dad's 69 years old, and the next day we woke up. We were like, listen, we left half the bull hanging on a Widowmaker. And we were like, listen, we hung on a Widowmaker. Bears can't get to it. It's cold. It's 30 degrees overnight. We're gonna come back and get it tomorrow. But we get up at 4:30 in the morning. We're sitting there. My dad woke up and he's like, "Dad," it's like, "What?" He's like, "I can't come up here." It's like, "Go up there." And I was like, "What?" He's like, "I can't walk." I'm like, "What?" He goes, "I tried to get up to piss in the middle of the night. I fell down the stairs. My legs don't work." I was like, "Maurice, come here. I think my dad's having a stroke." He's like, my dad's like, "No, I'm fine. My muscles just don't work."
Because he's so dehydrated.
He's like,
"I'm sorry." Of a stroke.
He's like, "I'm sorry, boys. I'm sorry, boys. I can't help you today." I was like, "Listen, we're gonna miss that 20 pounds." They carried it was a back strap.
But I'll carry those rocks for you.
I was like, "Listen, it's all right." So Maurice and I grabbed like a little old aluminum frame pack that was there, and Maurice brought his frame pack in, and we got to the most amazing bulls that day on the way in to get the other half of that bull. We had bulls at 20, 15, 17 yards, and they just know when to stop when there's crap covering their vitals.
No, I think we've learned a lot since then too.
Yeah, well, this year, how many times this year, Maurice, did we say, man, if we knew what we knew now 3 years ago, how many bulls would we have killed?
No, I know. We would have killed 2 every year.
Yeah, yeah.
That's nuts. And you would think with it being such a big animal that it wouldn't be that hard, right? I mean, like if they're in range or whatever the case may be, like how hard could it really be?
Yeah, completely.
Well, to get back to the survival thing of like all this in Colorado. This year we came across an elk carcass of somebody was successful, killed a young bull, and it was covered in grass. That's a mountain lion.
Wow.
My buddy Doug's cow that he killed, there was the spine and the face left. That's it. They ate the ribs. That's
in 24 hours.
In less than 24 hours. Yeah, like 12, 24 hours. Yeah.
Wow.
And that's a bear. And there's giant. Maurice and I have seen the black bears out there. They're like 400-pound bears. They're huge. So you're in the legit wilderness. And so you guys and everybody else made fun of me at Huntstock. I got there Saturday morning. I ran 2 miles. And people are like, what's wrong with you? I'm like, I'm training. They're like, you have to do this to go to college. I'm like, no, I'm sure like out of shape people kill elk too, but I don't want to be that person. Like, right. I don't want to be the guy that holds back Maurice. Maurice did a 50-mile mountain race.
Wow.
At Wachusett Mountain. And the guy, Sean Hines, he's an ultra marathoner. He's a beer drinking ultra marathoner. And my buddy Doug is just a ginger. He's a redhead, so he'll go till his legs fall off. So I don't want to be the guy that holds everybody back. And so you train hard. You train hard because you want to be successful. It puts you in that much more effort. It puts you like that much more effort. Preparedness leads to more success through whether it be luck or not, but you put yourself in a position to handle the worst situation that's dealt you.
And you're able to go a little bit further if you have to go. If it's not in that mountain range, then obviously you can get up and hike further and put yourself in more of a successful area.
Yeah. Well, the side of the mountain we found the elk on, believe it or not, we were like, man, we're not hearing bugles. We didn't realize it was like 2 or 3 miles away, and that's why we couldn't hear bugles, because they were the next valley over on this sage meadow, probably bugling their ass off. We're sitting there like, man, they're quiet. But then we got within a half a mile of them, we could hear them. Like, and the last day was probably one of the most insane hunting experience I've ever had.
Well, take us through it. Let's hear it.
Mo, I'll let you tell you. He can tell you.
Well, no, I'll just start. So
I'll be right back.
By this last day, we had to kind of adjust our hunting style, and so there was a ridge that would oversee this valley for about 2 miles, and that whole 2 miles is all public land, surrounded by private, and that whole private sort of periphery is all open sage. So it's pretty awesome setup because the elk aren't going to really be hanging out in the sage. So the people that own the private property aren't thinking too much about elk hunting. But well, there goes
Savage.
Jake's tooth.
Jeez Louise. Are you a dentist
root beer,
too?
by the way.
We need a dentist.
So we're glassing, and at the furthest point we can see, you see 3 elk, 2 cows, and 1 average sized bull. And we don't hear anything. We send out a kind of a locator. We get nothing. And based on a stalk we did the day before, we said, all right, let's just go for it. There could be 3 elk there. There could be 70 elk there. You have no idea. So, Jake. Hello, can you hear us?
Oh yeah. So the same small bull we had seen, Maurice and I had like on the border of range the day before. They were like, man, this is just a small herd in this valley, but there's legal elk to kill. And the archery tags either sex. So we descend this valley. It's probably 500-foot decline down that valley.
Yeah. And we're about 1.7 miles as the crow flies.
Yeah. And so we're boom, go across. The wind, obviously the thermals are coming down, which is awesome. It's a bluebird day, which is what we're used to in Colorado. This year we got dealt a hand where like there was a lot of wind. The first 2 days was rain. It was weird. It was like raining and sunny at the same time. It was just all sorts of fuckery. So we finally get the day we want. We go down, and our buddy Doug, who had tagged out, got into the hooch the night before. So he was like, I'm going to hang back. So it's just the 3 of us. We go down up this valley, and it's time for what we call a yard sale. Like we're like, all right, we're within a half a mile of them, time to yard sale, which means you strip a layer, base layer off. That way you don't sweat through, pack in your pack. Now's the time to take a pee, do whatever you got to do. And we're doing that. And also we hear the, I'm like, that's them. Kept walking, that's them. You go in this dark timber. And I don't know if you guys have ever been on elk, but when you get in dark timber, it's like 10 to 20 degrees cooler. It's night and day. And you're like, this is why elk like dark timber. Elk, we decided this year that elk are vampires. They don't like the sun. They don't like the heat. They like the dark timber where it's cool and they
And
can
it is
chill.
thick and
Thick
nasty,
as
and
balls,
there
dude.
are blowdowns everywhere.
It's called windfell. And if you haven't lived until you try to go 200 yards through windfell with a 40-pound pack on an incline like this,
It's like
it's
real
like,
life pickup sticks. I mean, you're just
yeah,
trying to get through every one of
yeah.
these giant down trees and be
I
quiet about it.
imagine like we're like ants stuck in a hay like stack, like just trying to go up and over. And so go up this ravine, and we go through this windfell patch. There's little itty bitty like incline down, and I get to the bottom for some reason. Like I'm gonna knock an arrow. I just feel like they're gonna be right up here. I knock an arrow, I peek up over the top, and I was like, stop. There's a cow 40 yards in front of us. And I look at the same mediocre 5 point that we had the day before was with her, and they start dancing around a little bit and take off. And also we hear screaming up to our left about 75 yards. Is this they open up to open timber, but there's this one thick patch about 75 yards to our left. And we just heard branches breaking. And so it was quick. And our buddy Sean, who's hunted elk for a lot longer than we have, and he hunts with a longbow. And he's like, let's set up and let's start cow calling. Jake, I left my reed, Jake, it just sounded like a lost cow. I said, okay. So we set up and I start cow calling, and the woods just turned into a freaking mosh pit. I don't know how else to explain it, Maurice. It's just,
And when you're that close to big elk, even when you can't see them, every time they scream, it like resonates through your chest.
yeah, I pee just a
You
little
immediately
bit.
get goosebumps. It's
Sure, let's pee.
Yeah. No, Maurice and I looked at each other and we were like, this is what we've been waiting for all week. This, where they scream and bugle and growl so loud, you feel it in your chest. You're like, I just pooped a little bit.
It's
Just,
every scene in Jurassic Park when the trees start moving, but you
yeah.
don't see anything yet. You're like, oh God, I'm totally terrified, but I'm super excited.
So I start cow calling, and the whole ridge just starts screaming. But the 5 points over here, like, man, there must be another bull in here, screaming, and I hear crash, crash, raking. And I'm sitting there and I'm like, it's funny because you look at us, we're all like, we're ranging whatever we can find. Like that's 50, that's 100, that's 10, that's 5, that's 3. This is my foot. It's a foot. It's a yard and a half. Like you range everything. We're sitting there, and Maurice and I both thought they were going to come right down to this thicket because he was crashing through all this shit. And all of a sudden they took off chasing, and it kind of went quiet. So we moved a little bit, and all of a sudden the 5 point that we seen before was just 60 yards in front of us. Took off like just like prancing because he saw us. But here's the thing about elk: if they don't smell you, they don't know what the fuck you are. So he's like, that's not normal. He pranced a little bit, and then a cow came by, and he kind of forgot about us. So we sit, another little ledge goes down. We're sitting there like, man, he's going crazy right there. I put my bow down and I peed again because I pee every 10 seconds. And I look up, I was like, guys, don't move. And here comes a spike bull at like 20 yards, walking right past us. He gets by and try to pick up my bow. I was like, gosh, I wish he had a brow tine because it's they have to have a brow tine 5 inches or more or 4 points to a side. And it walks by us, crest this snow a little bit, and you guys what, 5-10 feet behind me?
Yeah, I'm just down to the right, and Sean's just up to
Just down to my left, and Sean's to my left, and I'm like, oh, Maurice, what's the matter? I'm like, there's like 50 elk right in front of us. He's like, what? I'm like, and all of a sudden, here comes the biggest bull I've ever seen in my life. At like 80 yards, just he had massive fronts, a big whale tail. He's itching his butt like with his horns. I'm like, oh my God, Maurice, it's fucking huge bull. He goes, how big? I'm like 350, 360. He goes, no. I'm like, yeah, it's fucking huge. Sitting there, they're dancing around. So the guys start creeping up and looking, and I hear Sean to my left go, holy shit. There were so many elk in this, and we had weaseled our way into the herd. And we're just watching them go around. And I watched this bull go right up to a cow and stick his nose right in her business. Like, just go right up there and look just like a cow, like a heifer, just like, he was lip curling. I was like, oh my God, this is amazing. And I'm like, they're going to chase one right by us. It's going to happen. It's right here. Maurice is down to the right. And all of a sudden, another herd bull comes, and another giant 6x6 that wasn't as wide, but was super tall. Again, giant fronts. And
probably a 330 bull. And we still got the wind just cranking right into our face. And we're like,
oh yeah. And Maurice like, I see him.
Here.
And I go, that's the smaller of the two. He goes, what? And Sean goes, yeah, the other one's fucking huge. We're sitting there, and all of a sudden, boom, all the cows just bed down at like 60 to 80 yards. And we're on an incline, like what, 45, 50 degree incline down.
Yeah. And all the cows, they bed with the wind at their back. So the wind is blowing in our face. So we've got 30 pairs of eyes staring just right in our direction.
Looking right at us. Yeah.
With the wind at their back, but we're just trying to slowly creep forward into this herd.
Yeah. And we're literally just going like an inch every 15 minutes with our feet. And I looked down at one point in time, Maurice has a tripod, I suppose, like putting it down, it's like glass and going this and that. I'm like, God damn, I wish I had one of those in my bow. And my arms like going numb. I'm holding it with the string. Like, and I look to my left and Sean's creeping up and Sean goes, Jake, I go, well, he had a Raghorn 5-point. He goes, I got a 5-point, like 45 yards bedded from me. And I've seen Sean shoot his longbow. He'll kill at 40 yards. Like he's in a group like this at 40 yards. It's really impressive. And he's confident. He killed a bull moose last year, 36 yards in a tree saddle in Colorado.
Wow.
And got a pass through with like a 50-pound longbow.
Yeah.
So we're set with, man, it's going to happen. It's going to happen. It's going to happen. An hour and a half, we're just standing there watching these elk. I mean, they're sitting there heads up, and also you see them put their head down flat like like a horse lays in the field. They sit lay their head flat like this, and they're asleep, and then they get up and they lick themselves. And I'm like, oh my God. At this point in time, I'm thinking of Maurice. I'm like, we have a cow that we split up the meat. Do I shoot a cow if she gives me a good shot? But we've got a 350, 360 6-point in here. That's a world-class bull. I've never seen a bull this big in my life.
Now, where's that bull right now? Can you see him, or he's just somewhere?
He's going around the back of the herd. What he does, he keeps his harem in check.
He's right about 80 yards, 85 yards.
Yeah,
you can see
you're not keeping eyes on him the whole time. You just know about where he is.
You see his feet, and then you see him chase a scrub bull down once in a while and come back up and go back and forth.
And then the other one bedded for about 15 minutes, and he had himself surrounded. 3 cows. It was like he was in his Elvis's basement, man, just surrounded by the ladies. It was loving life.
And you say herd bulls, so like those are your big mature bulls that you're after.
Yeah, those are the fuck around. Yeah, those are the fuck around and find out bulls. Like, go ahead and try and take one of my cows, and I'm gonna stick a tine up your ass. Like, you have satellite bulls. So this time of year that we went, and usually people will be like, I killed a satellite bull. Those are the bulls that are looking for love that you can pull off of a big herd because they're desperate. Herd bulls are like, I got my ladies. I'm not leaving for anything.
Yeah, those satellites have been beat up a bunch of times. They've been run off a bunch of times. You throw out some sweet cow calls, and they're interested. They're like, okay, let's go try to do my own thing over here. But some of these satellite bulls are still good bulls. I mean, just depending on where you're hunting. And there were a couple of decent satellites in this group.
Yeah, a couple good 5-points. So eventually, about after an hour and a half, the cows started popping up one by one, and just like stretching and then walking down. And of course, we get excited, so we start shuffling a little bit closer. Like, I had a cow broadside at 60 yards. I'm like, there's no way I'm shooting a cow at 60 yards. I'm like, I got a world-class bull.
What was interesting is that as the sun was peeking up over the ridge and just little bits of sunlight start hitting the edge of the herd, the more the sun shows up, the more that edge starts standing up. They like want nothing to do with that temperature variation.
Really?
So they all got up real slowly, casually, just doing their thing. But man, it was like, oh, give me some shade, give me anything, stop it.
The best chance we had was when they all got up. One of the herd bulls gave Maurice like an 84-yard shot.
Yeah, what was about a 1 second window.
But it's like and the only way to stop elk is like you meow, but then they're on alert. It's kind of like going meh on a buck. Except it's weird. Elk don't move when you shoot often. Like they're like bovine. I find it easier if you hit an elk with an arrow. They die a lot easier than whitetails. Wow. Because if you hit an elk, they'll run and then you cow call to them and they stop. They're like, what was that? And then they drop over dead. You hit a whitetail, they just take off like their ass is on fire until they can hit the end of the earth and then drop off. Like they know something's up. Elk are just like do.
I think it probably helps too. Our last 3 shots were lung, aorta, heart. I mean, that probably helped. just saying.
Just yeah.
It's 12 weird. When they're bleeding to death, they die really fast.
Yeah. Minute details.
So when you're in the herd, like, is that like, I don't know. So like, is that like your goal is to get in the herd and just be inside of them like that? Or is it normally trying to call them out and try and kill them on the outside of the herd? Because at that point you have that many more eyes on you, like in the situation that you got into. So it makes it a lot tougher. Yeah. Like, what would be your ideal situation?
Well, that's where we played Monday morning quarterback. We talked about it, like I could have cow called, but then every single, you're talking 40, 50 sets of eyes. They're like, boom, right on it. They know right where you call from.
They're like
a turkey.
It's like a overgrown giant turkey is literally what you're dealing with at that point.
And was it Remy Warren? He's like, they're not like turkeys. I call them 600 to 800 pound turkeys because that's why I love turkey hunting, because the interaction. But they know right where you call from. And so the goal, I don't think, of anybody is to get in the herd, but it's a unique scenario where Maurice and I've actually done it 2 years now in the last 3 years. We've gotten in the middle of a herd and watched them interact, and you learn a ton about their vocalizations and how they move, and that they're really just lazy cows, but they're still hard to kill, which isn't fair.
I mean, I've listened to 10 podcasts trying to answer that question, and at this part of the season, when they're all herded up, when they're all grouped up, your chance of shooting a herd bull is so minimal. I think most people's recommendation is, if you come into a herd like this, you try to back out a little bit, play that wind, and see if you can't stalk up any closer, just kind of knowing where they are, because they weren't moving much. The problem was, I was in a situation where I probably could have done that because I was on the embankment of a hill. But then I had the two of them on the left, and if they do too much movement, maybe they're going to get caught, maybe they're not. But we all three have tags, and we're all trying to kind of look after each other. And it's like, we all want to make a move, but we don't want to blow it for everybody else.
Yeah, if we had a chance to, we probably would have backed off, had somebody cow calling off to the right while one person from the left comes up, or vice versa, call from the left and have somebody go, so you distract them,
Well, tell him the last chapter, how we royally screwed up the whole second chance.
So the last chapter, the herd ended up getting up and moving off to the southwest.
Like very, very casually, though, just kind of
not
walking
big
off, trotting off.
Yeah, just getting up. There's this one spike bull that was such an asshole. He literally rounded up all the cows and pushed them towards the big bull. He's such a goody two shoes. He's got spikes like this. I'm like, what are you? God, literally, he like looked at us and then got all the cows and like pushed them all off. And so they go off.
And we thought pushed them right onto private land, because we're like 300 yards from private land, and there's no screwing around out in Colorado.
Yeah, you don't.
Once you go private,
you go on a private ranch, they'll find an unmarked grave with your bones in it someday.
Yeah.
You just don't F around.
Yeah.
So we're sitting down, crack open our bags. We have some trail mix and stuff. We're like, man, I was like, let's just follow them for a little bit. It's like following a herd of hippos. Like, they make so much movement in the earth. Like, it's just, we can follow them for miles. So we're following. We go like, what, 300-400 yards?
Yep. And we're just walking that line of the private.
This line. And we come out, and there's this open aspen meadow that breaks open to dead aspen with some deadfall, and then it goes down to a grassy ravine, then up the other side. And we get about 100 yards in this ravine, and I let a bugle rip, and man, one answered right back. And Maurice said, was that a hunter? And all of a sudden, like, no, that was not a hunter. Like, giant gorilla, like, so
they hadn't been answering us all week.
Yeah,
so we got second guessing everything.
Yeah, so we got so excited that we started making closer, and Sean was like, let's set up and cow call. So I start cow calling. And I'm banging off to the right, and these guys are kind of pushing forward. And I'm like, you guys can set up any time now. But they kept walking, kept going. So I'm cow calling. You can hear them like, mew, mew, mew. And I look across this valley, and see the elk move. And both Maurice and Sean are still kind of like still hunting up. And so I'm cow calling, mew, 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 and I look, and there's this nice 5-point across the meadow just sitting there broadside. So I range at 61 yards. I'm like, oh my God, that's a shot. And so I pull my sight, and I clip in, and I start to pull back, and I was like, crash. I'm like, what the hell happened? The whole herd. I mean, it's like, you ever see like a herd of zebra running in Africa? That's what it was.
Oh yeah.
Just on TV, of course. Yeah.
Yeah, but like dust and shit everywhere. I'm like, did one of you guys shoot? What just happened? And what happened is Sean was moving up on the left, and with my cow calling, one of the big 5-point or 6 points came up over head and neck at 20 yards, saw them moving, and then took off.
Yeah, so we were creeping up to about a 20-foot drop off, maybe a 30% grade. And as we were like trying to get to the edge to see, this valley is maybe only 75 yards wide. And then as the embankment goes up, you can see half the herd over there. And we're like, okay, here we go again. Now we can kind of see things, see what's going on. We had no clue there were two elk running straight up that hill to that cow call, like they're supposed to, like they've done for us in the past.
They just didn't do the last 4 days. So
then done the last 4 days. We're charging in there like idiots. We all have tags, and we're all wanting to kill. And we're just, after standing for 2 hours and watching the what could have happened, we just kind of lost it for a second. Man, that was the big takeaway for us, is like, no matter when you're hunting, you got to have that plan. You got to stick to it. If I had called and stayed back, or if Jake had called and stayed back, and you set up your shooter and then your backup shooter, that would have been a dead bull, 100%. And he was coming in hot. But you let your guard down for 1 minute, and then you've got 45, 50 elk gone. Game over. your trip is done. Like,
And then
time to go
we
drinking
had,
in town. Like,
yeah, all 4.5, 5 days that we hunted, we didn't have any action in the afternoon. No evening action. So we finally got to a spot where we got reception. I got a multi-page text from home.
no.
From home, touched base with the wife and kids, and I texted my buddy Doug, who's the camp. He's like, "How you guys doing? Like, we're in a herd all day. We're on the way back. We're about like 3 miles from camp. Do us a favor, just start packing shit up." He goes, "Okay." So it's kind of a tradition. And last night we go there, we pack up. He did an awesome job. All of our cots were put away. Everything was all set. We pack up camp, take a few pictures, and we head into town. We get a hotel room for the night, and we go out downtown. We get steak, we get drinks. This year we got tapas this year, which was good. But it's nice to like you.
That's a super important part of the story.
Yeah,
Yeah, I was gonna say, what is tapas though?
You know what tapas is? Come on, man.
No, of course not.
It's multiple small dishes that you share with friends. So you like
From
7
Spain.
courses.
It's a Spanish.
From España. I know you're cultured. Come on.
So how do you get it in Colorado?
The towns, man. They have
Gunnison is blown up. It
Yeah.
was a cow town like 10 years ago. Now it's
Western Colorado University.
yeah, everybody's out there mountain biking, hiking, hunting. I'm telling you, like the
it's
West
like Montana. Yeah, it's like Montana.
The dispensaries.
Mm-hmm.
Listen, Yellowstone ruined Montana. Okay,
It did 100%. I'm not disagreeing with that by any means.
So all my friends who live out in like Colorado, Montana, Wyoming, they all say like, dude, all these rich East Coast, West Coast people are buying up ranches because they want to be John Dutton.
Yeah.
I'm like, great. Will they let me hunt there?
Yeah, exactly. Well, maybe they will if they have that.
Who gives a shit until they have an elk-borne tick illness? I don't think they're going to let us hunt there. You know,
save the bears and all the other horrible stuff that goes on there.
But the takeaway is, and I'm actually surprised you got Maurice to talk about elk hunting because this is Maurice's MO. Is we come back and you guys joke, but there's a period of depression. There's this period of reentry, where you're living in like a caveman for a little bit. You're surrounded by your brothers, and there's no bills. You don't hear ambulances. You don't hear helicopters. You don't hear traffic. You hear nothing. You hear bumblebees, and you smell sage. And once in a while, you hear a crow or a hawk. That's it. And so there's this reentry period. And so Maurice traditionally is like, I'm going to need like a week or two before we can recap and do this whole thing. So the fact he's on this podcast right now is relatively amazing.
Here's the thing. Like, I think, Jake and I have really busy family lives. We both have 3 kids, all, high school age or younger. Our jobs are really intense. And I think we all find as we get older, there are very few moments in your life where you can focus on one thing and you can focus on it for a week and everything else is able to kind of slide off to the edge for a while. And I think that's, when I run ultra races, it's the same kind of bit or same kind of thing for me. People are like, oh, it's so terrible. It's so painful. Why would you want to do that? I'm like, you know what? Every other thing in my life falls off to the side for a minute. And you're able to focus on just completing the task. And the pain is part of this experience. Like remembering how hard it was. And the funny thing is, pain goes away pretty quickly. Like it just kind of leaves this endorphin imprinted memory that it just keeps you wanting to come back every year. It wants you to be part of that experience. And I'm unfortunately, I'm a true believer that there is really a 4 to 5 year learning curve. If you're not going with an outfitter, if you're not going with a guy or a group that's been out there and knows the land, like we have learned something every year. And it's frustrating because you make that goal, that big bull, you train, every day. I probably, and again, Jake's more of a weightlifter. I'm more of a runner. At this point, I've run over 1,800 miles, just of trail runs. And again, do I need to do that? Probably not. And I'm no, the Cam Hanes, he's a whole nother animal, but I don't know, just to have that kind of focus, share that brotherhood with your friends. It's like nothing else that you experience, or at least that I have.
It kind of but training like that puts you in the position for success at that point, though. Like if you were ever.
Yeah. And you know what? Well, you don't want to have an excuse, right? You don't want to have an excuse. We, unfortunately, I got a little bit of lung altitude issue when I was up there. I never
Yeah.
had
So
before.
so this is where training comes into play. Where like a normal person could have been hospitalized with what happened to Maurice this year. Like it's deadly, and I'll let him tell you what happened.
So I mean, there's varying degrees of it. It's called high altitude pulmonary edema, and basically, if you're above 8 to 9,000 feet, there's been a ton of research about this, and it doesn't matter if you're in great shape, if you're in terrible shape. Some people are predisposed to get it, and there's varying degrees. You can have high altitude illness where you just get headaches and nauseous, and you don't feel well, and you get a lot of fatigue. You can have high altitude brain swelling, which of course can be life threatening. That usually happens above that 18 to 20,000 mark. And you can also start to get fluid on your lungs, and you get edema in your lungs. And I didn't really realize it till I got home, because I'd also twisted my ankle while I was out there, and just had a lot of swelling. But when I got home, all of a sudden I had this swelling in both my legs. I had these sausage ankles. I tried to go for a 4 mile run. I could barely run a mile. I was like, "What is happening to me?" And I'm like, "You jackass! You're a doctor. You have some pulmonary edema. Like,
And so the
what
thing
are
is,
you doing?"
the first 2-3 days, Maurice was fine, and then he rolled his ankle. But then towards the last part of it, he was coughing a lot, which is not normal like him. He was hanging back out of our pack when we were packing, and I just assumed, I was like, "Hey, you're all right with your ankle?" I assumed it was his ankle, and he's like, "It wasn't until we got back to Massachusetts." He's like, "Dude, I couldn't breathe." And you've never done this before, Maurice. When we got back to this, I should have picked up on this being a nurse. Is that Maurice is like, "I'm sleeping terrible at night," but when we got back to the camp at midday, he was sitting in a chair, he'd fall right asleep. So when you lay down flat, that fluid in your lungs covers your lungs, can't breathe. But if you sit up, it sits at the bottom, you can breathe just fine. So he was passing out for 2 hours midday, sitting in a chair.
Jeez.
Yeah, I
And
was
I
like,
got
"What is
and
happening?"
I got pictures of him too, because he sleeps with his mouth open. He's like, and so it's so at the time it wasn't until
Just
we
like
got
that,
back.
right, Jake? Just like that.
Oh no, it's legit. No, I'm
No.
not kidding. It's legit
I,
like that. I got pictures.
I,
But he but this is what I mean. This is where his training comes into play, because we made it back fine. And Maurice is just such a cockstrong individual that it wasn't until a day and a half we got back, he was like, "Hey man, I don't want to say the time because I don't want to sound like a wuss, but I was pretty fucking sick." It's like, hey, I mean, I knew something was up. I thought it was just your ankle. But this is the training, the mental toughness, and also the physical endurance that you put yourself through to train, just in case situations like this happen. Because I've had friends who've gone out to the same area we hunt and stayed at 9,000 feet, and their entire week's been ruined with high altitude sickness. They had to go to the hospital and get fluids and diuresed and everything. A buddy of mine went out there. He's like, "I'm on a 10-day hunt." He got to hunt 3 days before he was in the hospital.
so my question is, at that time of the year when you're archery hunting, are you they're more higher in altitude than they are as the season progressively goes on and they start to come off the mountain, or how does that work? Like what?
Depends where the food is. Depends on how wet it's been. Depends on how
Okay.
hot it's been. It all depends. They migrate where the food is. And so, like our buddy Sean says, there's just as much food up high as there is down low because it's been a really, really wet summer.
Okay.
Yeah,
So
and classically, what they'll do is they will start up high in the morning, and they'll after feeding all night, like down in the valley, because I mean, there's a lot of these areas surrounded by farms, so there's hay
yeah,
fields, there's different crops, and they'll feed on that shit all night. Then they'll come right back up into the mountains. It's cool, it's safe. They hit that north facing stuff,
not that, but in the morning, thermals are coming down. They're walking
yep,
up into the
so they can
thermals.
smell right up into it.
Okay.
So classically, they'll say they're high in the and at night, and then kind of come down. So but it depends. It depends where the hunting pressure is. It depends where the food is, and that's why we were kind of screwed up. We used to just go out the door and bugle, and like, "Oh, you're there."
Yeah, and chase them
Not
and
this
get
year.
shots.
Yeah.
But that being said, this year was different. It was harder than all the other years, but we were in the elk every day. Maurice and I, the last 2 days, Maurice and I clipped in. We've got to tell you a spot where we put we saw him bed down. Maurice and I put a stock on him, and then all of a sudden, I'm like, "Hey, Maurice, there's a boot track here." I turn around, and the elk were already behind Maurice at 100 yards. We turn around, and there's this dried out drainage ditch, and we had cows at probably 50 yards, but the bull was a 5 point, was on the edge of the rim at 88 yards, just standing there, broadside. And there's all the switchgrass. I'm like, Maurice, I'm at 85, 88 yards. It's my rangefinder. And he's like, "If you have the shot, take it." And I was like, "Man, I'm really considering taking the shot because that's an incredibly long shot." I practice at 90 yards at my house. And I can hit a 6-inch pie plate 10 out of 10 times at 90 yards. But you are at 11,000 feet. You have a 40-pound pack on. You've just got done doing miles and miles and miles. You sleep maybe 2 hours a night. And You go ahead and try and let me know how that goes for you. You can't keep that bow arm straight. So I was like, that's not, and not that, but he was silhouetted, and I shot. My arrow would have launched down to this valley. Who knows what's down there? So he opted to pass on the shot, and I'm not upset about it. But that was the first, like that was like legit, like we were within range of a bull. But unfortunately, it's a spot we couldn't call to.
With deer hunting too, like sometimes you need the whole season to figure out the problem.
Mhm.
Where's that pinch point? Where are you going to find that deer? And it may take you 2 months and 40 cameras and boots on the ground to figure it out. We have 5 days to hunt.
Mhm.
And I mean, again, with this time
4.5 with the weather,
with our kids and our family lives and our jobs, like we need 2 weeks to figure out the problem. But you only got 5 days, so you try to make the best of it.
I think that goes back on a lot of hunting, like a lot of travel hunting. Like I do a ton of public travel hunting in different states, and it's just like you have to be very aggressive, like you guys were, like being in the herd. Like it's all or nothing. It's fourth quarter. There's 2 minutes left, and you just need to go for gold. Like there's no option at that point. Like you're doing as much as your due diligence prior to going there. You're doing as much as you can while you're there. And it's just, you have 4 days to do what guys are doing in a whole entire season. It's not an easy task. So like whether you're successful or not, it doesn't matter. Like you're giving it all. It's a successful hunt no matter what.
And I think of our success as a group, elk hunting, 9% in Colorado. That includes rifle of hunters are successful.
Wow.
9%. Now, including this year, we as a group collectively, Maurice, me, and my buddy, in the last 4 years, we killed elk 3 out of the 4 years.
That's me, amazing success.
And before that, this is my 6th year. We killed 6 elk in 6 years, but myself, I've only gotten 1 or 2. But it's a collective. Like today, like this year, my buddy Doug, day 2, second day ever elk hunting, he killed his first elk with a bow at 8 yards.
That's incredible.
It's pulling the slot machine, man. Sometimes that's why hunting is so addictive.
So that's the funny thing. It's like same meadow. We were walking the same meadow, and it was pouring rain. I was actually pissy with you guys that day because we had written the day off. Like, oh, it's gonna pour and thunder, and look at there's a lightning cloud on the weather app, and blah 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 blah. I'm like, whatever. I woke up, stoked the fire, not a cloud in the sky, blue skies. I'm like, let's go. And Doug's sticking around with this now. Like, I'm leaving, I'm walking, and so like 300 yards down the road, I'm waiting. He's like, why are you upset? I'm like, I want to go. It's day 2. It's a perfect day. It's gonna thunder and lightning later. The elk are going to be screaming. We get down this meadow, and he's like, there's elk right there. I was like, what? He said, there's elk right there, 300 yards away. And the wind was perfect from them to us, the bottom of this meadow. Did a pit move and checked on them. And I'm like, there's a big bull in that herd. Did another pit move and stopped and waited. And I looked up, and there was a 5.7 yards from us standing there feeding. So I gave some cow calls. And Doug was like, I'm going to take the shot. I'm like, I don't know if my rangefinder's in the bush or not. Just wait. He moved off. I cow called 3 times, and I heard freaking cow from that herd came running right up over the top and stopped at 25 yards and sitting there looking at us like this. Goes, I heard a cow. Like pinpointed the tree I was at, cow calling. I'm like, oh my God. We both locked on. Cow comes by me at 5 yards. Spike bull, spike bull, spike bull. Raghorn 5-point at 25 yards, walking like this. And then I could just see whale tails on the top of a giant not a giant, but a good size 275 6-point.
Shootable.
Definitely shootable. Like the one I've got on my wall here. Comes up over the top, and I'm like, oh my God. I'm like, just 2 more steps. It's going to be 28 yards. And I hear, shh. And my buddy Doug's wearing a Frog Togs jacket. It's like, shh. I'm like, oh God. And and he's like half draw like this. I'm like, don't stop your draw. One thing with elk, if you're going to draw, put the pin on and shoot. They're going to sit there and let you do it. So he starts drawing like this, and he lets down, and they jump. And so I mew, and I stop, and I draw back. I look, and the Raghorn 5-point is 20 yards away from me, but like his ass facing me. And my buddy Doug said at the beginning, he goes, I will shoot a cow. I will shoot a cow. So I look, and the stupid cow is still sitting there. I go, Doug, shoot the cow. He goes, what? I'm going to shoot the cow. He goes, oh my God, I forgot. Turns, frontal shot at 8 yards, boom, drops her in her tracks. And we're like high-fiving.
Jeez.
And he's like, oh, he goes, I went to go draw that 5-point, but he busted me. I was like, did you see the 6-point? He goes, no, what are you talking about? I'm like, oh my God. Doesn't matter. I'm so happy my friend just got his first elk. Like, got his first set of ivories. It was amazing. Got to participate in the processing. Like, you quarter them and do this and that. And Maurice is like, hey man, you got to bring an 8x10 tarp every year. You set it out. You put the meat on. I got your meat bags. and just started pouring on us. But I got some amazing pictures, and we have a tradition where whenever we kill an elk, we carve our initials in the aspen trees. Aspen trees are the only trees you can actually carve your name in the initials and the heels over, because aspen are in one root system, and the elk actually bark it. They eat the bark, and so the aspen can regenerate their bark. And back to our training, I did 60-pound pack carries all year, 80-pound pack carries. In the last week, I did a couple 110-pound pack carries. My pack was what, more 100 and
110 pounds.
yeah. Thank goodness we
pounds.
only had a mile hike out, but we did 110 pounds out.
Jeez. And then
Okay.
what do you in that case you pack out once and then you have to go back sometimes and pack out
No,
more?
Yeah.
Sometimes on
we
a bigger animal.
were trying to get in touch with these Hanyaks, but they were huddled under under a pine tree in the middle of pouring rain.
We were playing cards, you know.
Yeah, we came back and we were sitting there, and we got the fire going at the camp, and I'm walking around in my cowboy boots, underwear, and a cowboy hat, and we start drinking. We're like waiting for the boys to come on up.
Third time.
I was like, let's go, boys. And so finally I was like, let's just go get the rest of the meat. So we packed it out, and it was awesome. It was literally awesome. Like that Maurice and Sean were just like elated, because Doug was like, I literally wanted to, he goes, I wanted to fill my tank early so I could soak it all in and not worry about it. And he's like, man, I'm sorry I screwed up that 6 point. I'm like, I'm not. I've killed elk. And Maurice is a very good elk caller, but I love calling elk. If I wanted to kill an elk that bad, I wouldn't call. I love calling elk. That means I sit back and watch them shoot.
And that's really what it's all about. I mean, it's a group outing and camaraderie, and I mean, you guys all work together to be successful. So like one killing is like the whole team taking one down.
Yeah, and actually it takes pressure off the whole group. We're like, all right, we got meat in the coolers. Now we can focus on just shooting a bull. No, that was, I mean, it's hitting all the check marks. We're like, boom, we got meat. Okay, now we can we can try to get a bigger bull and see what happens.
We go into town wearing our Sitka subalpine. People are like, oh, did you get an elk? Like, yeah, we got one. What? You got one? Yeah, we got a cow. Oh my God, that's the best eating in the world. Like all the farmers are like, can I get some? And it's like, no,
Really?
no, you can't.
They're all begging for it.
Yeah. Literally, because the locals, like, they don't like to go deep for elk. They'll love cow tags. They love cows.
Oh, sure. Rifle and your side by side. Yep.
Oh yeah.
How deep were you guys from the trailhead where you set up camp?
From the bottom of the mountain, what, 3 miles, Maurice?
Yeah.
Not too bad, 3 miles, but we were probably about a half mile from the actual apex of the mountain.
Yeah, the only issue with this spot, which is why it's been a great spot, but it's from the base to where we are sleeping, it's about 2,500 feet of vertical. So it's just, again, it's, starting at 9,000. So you just feel it, and every day you finish your hike uphill to camp. You're not going back down,
which is fine by me. It's in the morning when you're going down, your knees are locking. It's like, oh God, I'm getting old, but that's why we train. And my wife said this year it was 105 degrees here in Massachusetts, and I lift in the morning. And from the midsummer on, I do 2 or 3 days, and which means you lift in the morning, you do either a run or a ruck in the afternoon. And it's 105 degrees. I strapped on a 60-pound pack and did 4 miles. She's like, why? I'm like, because you have to stress your body. She's like, no, you don't. I'm like, no, you do. You have to stress your body, see what it can handle. That way it stretches more each time. Your body can handle more each time. You know what your body can take. And I found that your body can do a shitload of work on just a little bit of water.
Yeah. And
Maurice taught me that. And he makes fun of me because I bring pre-workout. I bring pre-workout to Colorado. He's like, what do you got there? A bag of cocaine? Because I don't bring the big jug of pre-workout. I put it. Listen, it's the sketchiest fucking thing in the world. I literally have a little like sandwich bag, Ziploc bag with like white powder and a little scoop in it. And I'm like, what's that? And Maurice is like, did you bring cocaine? I'm like, no, it's pre-workout. He's like, oh yeah. Well, out there, it's like it's got caffeine in it. When coffee is in short order, like it's got caffeine. But I bring pre-workout.
In 28 minutes, Jake built us an outhouse. It was beautiful.
Yeah. Out of sticks and mud.
And it chewed through most of the branches,
like a beaver.
Like just one more hit. Just one more hit.
Oh, God. Well, your body's so used to it. Like when we shed hunt up north, it's the same thing. I mean, we take pre-workout. You're constantly doing the same things as when you're working out. I mean, you're doing 15, 20 miles, walking, shed hunting, in the pines and stuff. So it's the same thing. I mean, you drink a bang and you take a pre-workout, dude, and you're gone for the day. I mean,
that sounds like SVT waiting to happen, and bang in a pre-workout. That's supraventricular tachycardia, which usually we have to like shock you out of.
I don't know if we're on a podcast or I'm in the emergency room, dude. I feel like
I don't know.
When Maurice was explaining the pulmonary thing, I'm like, oh man, I feel like I'm in front of the doctor again. Like they always giving me this like constant.
If you pull your pants down and turn around and spread them for the camera, we can diagnose you with whatever is wrong with you.
It's typical Jake. Yep, I didn't expect anything less. No. I can imagine being in the mountains. Could you be? I couldn't even. I don't know. What do you think, Steve? Could you be in the mountains with Jake?
So we got a nickname this year for me and my buddy Dougie. They call us the Methane Men.
Oh my God! You have to play the win just hunting with him.
So Peak Fuel and Mountain House. So those in itself, I kind of try to prep myself this year. Like, all right, I've been living off of venison and like broccoli and kale and cauliflower and like chicken and eggs all summer, just because I cut 23 pounds from spring to the trip, and my belly I have to like train so I don't fart my brains out. So I was like eating it, and then the first night.
No, his training never works every single year.
Listen, Sean this year, Sean's
leaky,
like, hey guys,
smelly, foul place where things go to die.
That's all everybody's butt. But anyway, this year, Sean's like, listen, guys, we're having moose heart fajitas because it's the last animal I killed. It's a tradition. We have to have moose heart fajitas. I'm like, great, man. Moose heart fajitas. I love moose heart. It's great. Fajitas, yeah, delicious. Got the good enchiladas. We got everything good. And he didn't tell. He's a fucking thermal freak. He loves like Carolina Reapers and ghost peppers, all the things that make your butthole feel like lava's coming out of it. He likes to put in his food. And I'm like, oh man, the flavor's great, but I can't taste my scrotum. Like it's terrible. Like it's just like
that's the most he does every night before he goes to bed. He likes to just give it a quick lick.
Yeah,
of course, don't you? It's like corn. It's salty.
Oh, I'm so flexible.
So the first night there, he's like, they're just jalapenos. They're just jalapenos. I'm like, oh, I like jalapenos. Well, he left the fucking seeds in. And so we're eating. I'm like, oh man, like this is a great, like moose heart, whatever fucking was I was eating. I was like, this is great. And I'm like drooling on the car. I'm like, why is it so hot? You said they were just jalapenos. Like, oh, I left the seeds in. I'm like, oh, you're a dick. The next morning was the worst shit I've ever had in my life.
And you're on the mountain.
And then, to the point where I'm walking back and like, dude, I'm like, and Maurice like, dude, you get like it's bad. It stinks bad. I'm like, I'm in pain. Like my my lap belt from my frame pack, I like let it out. I'm like all distended and stuff. I'm like, this is ridiculous. You gotta. So from this point, I was like, listen, Sean, I love your cooking. You're amazing. I can't have spicy food like that, or else I'm gonna die. And you guys are probably gonna die soon too. From a
everybody else is running.
Strong finish.
Yeah.
So you're the moose heart fajitas on the mountain?
Oh yeah.
Are you eating full meals on the mountain, or are you eating a lot of dehydrated shit?
In the morning, I had dehydrated meals.
Yeah, normally we would, but since Sean could drive a fair amount up with his truck, which we didn't have the ability to do, he came from Fort Collins, so he brought a stove. He brought. I mean, that's why we were like, man,
we had fresh cilantro. We had fresh cilantro, man, and sour cream for our fajitas.
That's why I asked before how far in you guys were.
Yeah, so our hike from the mountain every day was about 2 miles down, and the drive-in is actually about 4 miles. But again, he was able to bring a ton of stuff up in that truck. He's got a souped-up taco, 3-inch lift, winch, the whole 9 yards. So
nothing better than a Tacoma.
Yeah. That
killer's gonna kill.
Goes everywhere.
We have a big saying about tacos here on the Outdoor Drive. If you drive by a public spot and somebody's in an F-150, like, don't worry about him. He's not a big deal. But if you drive by and he's got a Tacoma, bro, you better get within 100 miles because he's killing everything within 100 miles. He drives a Tacoma. Like that's a serious man. Like you when you see one on the side of the road,
he's got a cap on it.
He means business.
If you see a Tacoma with a cap, just keep driving.
Yeah. If he's got a Tacoma with a camping cap on top of the fold-out tent,
it's over, dude.
Yeah, if he's got the mud boards on the side where you can take them off and put them underneath, dude, you're fucked.
Game over. There's not a buck within 250 miles of there. But, no way.
In the morning, like I had the Peak Fuel, like granola and strawberry, like dehydrated stuff's fine. And Maurice and I have Maurice and I have a camp favorite, and it's sausage gravy and biscuits.
Mm,
I mean, you
can't beat
can't beat
that.
that.
That's
No.
amazing.
I mean, and beef strogie. I mean, those are our favorites.
You
And
guys are eating
I'll
like
be just
fat kids though.
oh yeah,
Oh yeah,
you burn so many calories.
yeah.
You know, I'll be there asleep with my mouth open, and he just puts that beef and gravy right in there. It's so nice. I just wake up like a little bird. Oh,
Yeah. So the funny thing is, like, we get back, and my buddy Doug's like, I fucking gained weight. I'm like, well, Doug, you killed on the second day, and you sat around like a fat ass drinking whiskey and eating all the edibles.
yeah.
And Maurice is like, I gained weight too. And Maurice, I'm like, well, yeah, Maurice, you had fluid in your lungs. Of course you gained weight. I lost like 4 pounds. You
Well, that
know?
was from shitting yourself.
Oh yeah, it was terrible. But that being said, I did do edibles for the first time on this trip. And Maurice may or may not have video footage of me sleeping and snoring like a sheep or a goat.
Mewing.
He was practicing his alcohol.
So I learned something this trip. So we're out there, and I'm a terrible sleeper. Maurice's like, dude, you never sleep. I'm like, yeah, I know. So I take Benadryl, whatever. And our friend Sean's like, hey man, you should try some flour. I'm like, what am I, bake a cake? He's like, no, like marijuana. I'm like, oh, I don't smoke. He's like, it's all right. Here, try this. There, I got sativa. I have indica. And I was like, indica is like indica in the couch. It means you sleep. It helps you sleep. So he cut me a gummy. I was like, oh, it's great. Then I slept great. The next day I took a full gummy. And Maurice woke up this morning like, dude, you were making goat noises in your sleep. I was like, what? And he played it back. He's like, all I could hear from the bunk was, yeah. So I went back. So I went back I went back to a half dose. So
It sounds like a normal camp. I don't see the problem, dude.
Listen,
Like,
we had Gentleman Jack, we had Evan Williams, we had Jim Beam.
Sounds like hunt stock.
yeah.
We had tequila. No hard liquors allowed at hunt stock. All right. At least
That was the
not
rule.
That was the
Rules
rumor.
are made to be broken.
Yes, they are. But it was amazing elk camp, and it's hard because you look, and Maurice has got a very busy family, and I have a very busy family. My daughter just got her learner's permit today to drive.
Congratulations.
And, no, fuck that. I got to put her on the insurance and get her like a Mazda CRV. I don't know. I got to get her some sort of 4-wheel drive armored tank car. But like, we had this family, and I read it in my social media post, like, a man, and I don't even know who said this quote. It was probably Remy Warren or somebody, but a man only has so many elk seasons. And you wonder when you'll be back, or if you'll be back. My fear is if I ever take a year off, I won't ever come back. And it's a legit fear. And people are like, Jesus Christ, it's only you're only hunting for 5 days. What's the big deal? You don't understand the emotional. Maurice gets it. He picks on me for it. But as soon as we leave Denver and we get to our first bluffs or our first sage meadows, I feel like crying. Like, it's just, you're in the wilderness, and you like, there's this river comes by, it's glacial, it's pure blue, you know, there's fucking trout for days in there, and you're like in God's country, and you're out there, and the people out there are just different. They ask how you're doing. They ask like, oh, did you get anything? You see any elk? Oh, there's elk over here. Oh, great, we'll have a good day. Try over here. And it's not just about elk hunting. And my wife and I talk about it. I was like, man, I'd love to get a place out here or something. It's the trip and being there and doing something that you don't see every day. And a man only has so many elk seasons, and I plan on hunting as many as I can. That being said, my family always comes first. So I don't know when, if, how I'll be back, but I will be back hopefully next year. Maurice and I have plans. Well, not plans, but tentative plans, depending on what our family life is. But we can't draw the zone that we've been in for another 2 years.
I was going to ask on that. Like, what does the tag situation work? Like, is it a repetitive that you can hunt that area, or you have to put in for a draw? It's not over counter, or
it's a draw. And like, if you have 2 preference points, it's a 96% chance of draw. If you have 1 preference point, it's like 55% chance of draw. I've got like 3 mule deer. Here's the thing. We saw legit 180, 200-inch mule deer bucks there.
wow.
Yeah. And I drew a mule deer tag 3 years ago.
Of course, because we weren't hunting them.
We weren't hunting them. I was focusing on my dad and Maurice elk hunting. And I drew a mule deer tag, and I'm sitting there. One day we're walking after Maurice. I'm sorry, Maurice. Maurice center punched the shoulder of this one elk, and got that much penetration. And we were all bummed. We come over the hill, and my dad goes, look at that elk. It was a freaking like 220-inch mule deer buck. And I was like, oh my God. I knocked an arrow. Maurice ranged at 72 yards. I changed my sight, go to draw back, and freaking mule deer's like, boing, 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 boing. And I looked at Maurice.
Ugh.
I go, that wasn't an elk. He goes, that was the biggest deer I've ever seen in my life. It was huge, huge. The does out there are like 220 pounds dressed. They're huge.
Guys just don't care about them.
No, they hunt them out there. But if they're
Oh,
180s,
okay.
if the locals like, oh, it's only 180. Let it go.
Let it go. I want
Yeah,
200.
it's a trophy mule deer area.
Wow.
So my plan is if we go back to this place in a couple of years, I want elk and mule deer tags, just because it's a place it's a place near and dear to our heart. And now that we know this little secret corner where if they get pressured they go to, we'd also probably go a week earlier, maybe a week and a half. Next year, I think maybe we'll go a week earlier, maybe before the full moon. I don't know, but
Micro tuning.
micro tuning. This is the 2 weeks off that Maurice needs to just get back to homeostasis at home, and then probably sometime in November we'll talk about next year.
Yeah, gentlemen, I have to get to work. I'm sorry.
No, it's all good.
Pleasure talking to you guys.
It was a pleasure having you, Maurice. We can't
thank
thank you
you
enough, man, for joining us. It was an absolute pleasure, and we'll talk soon, man.
Yeah, have a great season.
Thanks, you too, man.
Whitetail time. Thanks, guys.
Yes.
Yeah, good luck.
Thank you.
All right, Maurice, I'll see you later, buddy.
See you, buddy.
So, you know what's pretty incredible? I was thinking with deer season, you might prepare 8.5 months out of the year for a 3.5 month season. You're preparing all year long for 5 days. 5 days.
Yeah, about 9 months at least. So I lift just because it's a good mental release from work and stuff. But and people think I'm psychotic. It is kind of psychotic if you think about it. So Brett Joy from Just Hunt Club, when I used to film with them, was be like, dude, you're legit preparing for 9 months and you're basically a whole year around 5 days of hunting elk.
Mm-hmm.
I said, yeah. He's like, that's stupid. He's like, why don't you just, he's like, I get it. That's your passion. He's like, but I would just hit an outfitter and kill a giant elk and then call it a day. I'm like, but it's
not the same. It's not the same, man.
Well, here's the thing. I'm not gonna say it's not the same. It depends on the person's goals.
Right.
2 years ago, my dad killed a spike bull that had a 5-inch brow tine and 3 other points that were like this big, still in velvet on its head. And my dad was 70 years old. 70 years old.
Jeez.
Did every bit of the 40 miles we did in 5 days, except for maybe a half a day. And on the last day, he arrowed this bull at 40 yards. And 70 years old with a draw bow, not a crossbow, draw an old school PSE brute force X.
Vertical bow.
Made it happen. And that was the year we had gotten so many bulls. That spike, glorified spike, whatever you call it, is like a 400-inch bull for us.
Yeah.
And we had a 1.25 mile pack laterally. Didn't have to go up or down to the access road. And Maurice took 112 pounds. I took like 95 pounds. My dad took like 30 pounds. And
60 pounds of rock. No.
Yeah, 60 pounds of rocks. and we did it with a fucking smile on our face.
Mm-hmm.
And people are literally like, you're psychotic. I'm like, yeah, maybe.
But everybody has their own goals in this.
Yeah. And that's the thing. I mean, I'd show you guys my man cave here. I've got 15 deer mounts right here. And I love every single one of them. And I'm gearing up for deer season. People, like, up until last week, like, oh, man, you ready for deer season? I'm like, no. Like, why not? I'm like, because it's still September. Bulls are screaming somewhere.
Yeah.
And they're like, you don't even live out there. I'm like, I know. I don't.
But I think about it.
Maybe that's why it appeals. I wonder if they're thinking about me, So it's a very humbling thing, like being out there, because you are out here, you hunt your pieces of woods and you're like, I know this piece of woods. I'm the big dick alpha male in these woods for hunting. And you go out to like Colorado, Wyoming, Montana, and you're like, I am nothing. And there's a whole lot of ground to cover. I don't even know where to start. And then when you look at that and you have success from that, you're like, holy shit, I did something right. And you learn from it. And so it's in my blood, like now, just to chase them. It probably stems from turkey hunting.
Mm-hmm. That's what a lot of people say, honestly.
Yeah.
The turkey hunting. I mean, that, I don't know. Turkey hunting overtakes me as a human being. Like, my life revolves around turkey hunting, as weird and as crazy as it actually is. Like, turkey hunting is foremost the most important thing to me. Honestly.
Turkey hunting is?
Oh, absolutely. No questions asked. I would turkey
really?
hunt over anything.
Oh, for
Absolutely.
sure.
Oh, no questions
Well,
asked.
I'll give me 1 second.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Sorry.
No, you're
Is that your manager?
good.
Yes.
As the boss.
So I love turkey hunting, but it's I've killed probably 200, 250 longbeards.
Mm-hmm.
I maybe got 30 Pope and Young bucks, maybe 20 Pope and Young bucks. I don't know. Only got a handful of elk. And so I love turkey hunting because it's the interaction. And when I deer hunt, I'm not that quiet guy that sits in the corner. I grunt, battle, call. It's the interaction with wildlife and fooling them that really gets me. And so
I'd have to
what
agree.
what bigger scale could you have than elk? It's a 900-pound turkey that could stab you with its horns. And when they be, man, until you've lived it, when they bugle at like 50 yards, you legit like lose feeling in your body. It's just, it shreds right through you. It's like an air horn right in your face. And then you got to compose yourself and make the shot. So it's not easy, but it's awesome. It's legit just awesome.
Well, I mean, on that note, man, I want to ask you because I wish Maurice didn't leave, but he had to.
Yeah.
You know, that's a life, man. He's on that grind. It's
legit. He's a lifesaver. I've watched him save more lives than I can count. Legit. And I'm not talking like, oh, he did this. No, I've seen him take somebody from dead and bring him back.
It's a good guy to have on the mountain with you too.
Yeah,
yeah,
as a safety factor, right? I mean,
yeah, right.
If something
he
goes
got
wrong,
sick this year. He got sick this year. Like, dude, if you go down, what's gonna happen? I'm gonna poop my pants.
Yeah.
And I probably did twice.
Hey,
that's your lifestyle.
Next year when you go, stop at the dispensary on your way into town and let them say, "Hey, you got anything for the high altitude syndrome? They might have something for you."
Oh, maybe you guys got anything for that high altitude fartness I got going on?
Exactly, right.
They got something for everything now.
Oh yeah, they do. Yeah, you just gotta look for the green crosses. It's all the green crosses.
Yeah. You need to take this purple hashish cross thing, Mabobber. It'll be good. You'll be fine.
Twice a day.
Yeah, it's called Princess
You bad
Dick.
like sheep.
It was amazing.
Well, Jake, man, what drives you outdoors, my friend?
Well, I'm gonna come with a different answer from what I got last time. What drives me
I would
outdoors?
hope so.
It gets harder every time you have to answer the same question.
Yeah, right. So what drives me outdoors right now is it's kind of family. What drives me outdoors to Colorado is just reliving that one perfect day. That one perfect day in the Elkwoods where you couldn't bugle wrong. Every bugle got an answer. Every cow call had a bull come in. What drives you is to repeat that out there, and which we tried to do this year, and it was not the same. But we were in elk every day. And we had a great time. We had our chances. We killed. What drives me back here now that I'm home is I've got enough deer in my wall. Is getting my 8-year-old more involved and getting my dad a chance. My dad's now 72. He's losing his hearing. He's getting older. He can't draw his bow this year, so he can't bow hunt. He's got some shoulder issues. So what's driving me now is family. What the hell else is there?
Spend that time with the ones that you love in the woods.
Yeah. I'll fill my freezer. I'll get those. God willing, I'll get a good buck. It's not from lack of effort. Hey man, like if my wife says, "Hey, tomorrow is the perfect day to hunt," but I'm struggling. We got soccer, we got this, we got that. Guess what? I'm not going hunting. I'm gonna take care of my family.
Right.
That buck will still be there. And if he's not, he's not. I got this. I got my kids for a certain amount of time. But what drives me outdoors is still get out there, still get my release, fill my freezer, but family. Get my son more involved and get my father to be more successful in the later parts of his hunting career. So that's really what drives me now. Like I really enjoy spending time with Maurice. I really do. Maurice and I deer hunt together, not as much as we'd like to, but like just come back to what hunting is, not what you see it is on TV.
And I think that's important, man. And we try to strive for that here anyways, is that, it's not about the big bucks all the time. It's not about, like we've all been in those positions. We all chase mature animals. But that was, that's kind of, we didn't start there and we're probably not going to finish there. And as we get older, we start to realize what how important it is to spend time with those. Like when you're on the mountain, dude, like whether you killed something or not, it doesn't matter that you're with some of the greatest people that you've ever spent in the outdoors.
And the whole time I'm there, I'm like, God, I wish my wife and kids could see this. I wish they could be here to see the sunrise. Like I miss the whole time I'm there. I'm there like 2 days. Like, man, I want to go back and see my wife and kids. I miss my kids. I miss my wife.
Is your wife sitting next to you right now? No,
no, she came in.
Definitely gonna listen. So he's laying it on thick.
She came in. She's like 10 more minutes. I'm like, so, because kids gotta go to bed.
Yep.
But it's more of like I want to experience this with them, but it's hard.
Absolutely.
After a while, I'm in the place where I've been training for 9 months and wanting to be there and just, God, the smell of sage, I love it. And then you get there for a day and a half, you're like, man, I miss my shower, I miss my bed, miss my kids, miss my wife. And then the sun rises and you're like, it's elk time. It's elk.
It's 30. Amazing.
Yeah. It's like, let's go. But I gotta mention you and Tyler, you guys took my must be nice in my copyright and you've coin phrased it last podcast with him.
We've been saying that for a long time.
Don't be must be nice. Don't be must be nice. Don't be a must be nice guy.
No, don't be. All right, t-shirts coming. Must be nice t-shirts.
That's right.
Speaking of Tyler, I know most of you don't care, but I got to tell him because I know he's going to listen to this. Judge just sent 62 tonight. So, Tyler, you owe me a 12-pack.
Oh, God. So, that being said, Trevor Hamstill is this guy I follow on.
Yeah, I know who Trevor is.
He has must be nice on his blazer, on his veins of his arrow.
Really?
Yeah, I gotta get some of that. I'm gonna get it tattooed right on my chin.
Yeah, must be nice. We're gonna make t-shirts.
They're the worst people in the world.
We should make t-shirts.
Put your balls right on them. Must be nice.
That's it.
I see an apparel company in our future, guys.
That's it. I already have the heat press. I have all the stuff. It's done, dude. It's a wrap. I don't know.
Can you make man thongs?
Has anybody trademarked it yet?
Dude. I can make anything. No, I don't think so.
Well, I'm looking right now. Hang on.
Outdoor drive must be nice t-shirts.
Must be nice. That's right. With an upside down smiley face, which would be a frown.
Yeah.
I don't even question it when someone says to me, it must be nice. Goddamn right, it's nice. It's really nice. You should try it sometime. You should try it.
Want to see it, and then you unzip your pants. Oh, wait, no, you're talking about something else. Yeah.
That's what it is.
You guys, you boys are real nice. You guys are real nice.
Well, Jake, where can everybody find you and Maurice, man?
We don't have an official
group or page.
OnlyFans.
We have a wedding invitation or anything sent out yet.
Yeah.
But we can find us on Grindr on bigpeckermd.com and
Big Pecker MD.
You can find us on Instagram. You can find us on Facebook. Loeffel, or JBenRN. We just go about and do our thing. We ain't selling nothing. We're not pushing nothing except good time. Enjoy what you're doing when you're out there.
That's awesome, man.
Like just stop dreaming about it. Stop thinking about it. Fucking do it. Mm-hmm. Sack up and do it. That's how we got to Colorado. Sack up and just do it.
I think it's one of our kind of mottos. Like, it's an average guy can go and do anything that they want that they put their mind to. It's not a hard fetch thing.
An average guy can do amazing things.
Mm-hmm.
And do you have to work out 5, 6, 7, 8 days a week? No. Well, there's no 8 days in a week, but I was doing double sessions. But no, you don't have to. Does it help? Yeah. You build yourself to it. If you have a goal, do what you can to get to it. My goal was killing elk. I did. Now my goal is to get my buddy his first elk. I did. And now my next goal, man, I don't know. Maurice and I might go back to just him and me killing. Just going out there and living the bugle, living that bugle life. And it's, man, I mean, it's hard to explain and people don't understand, especially people who don't hunt. But it's, it calls to you. And without it, like you go into like clinical depression. So like I said, average guys can do amazing things, but those amazing things, like it's just your dream. Like if you think of it, you can do it. I tell my dad all the time, it's like, I want to go on a mule deer hunt. I don't want your inheritance when you die. Take that money, go on a mule deer hunt. I'll go with you.
Mm-hmm.
Do it. You get one life to live. Do what you want to do in that time period. Don't have regrets, especially when it comes to something that's so attainable. Take 5 days. Do it.
That's, honestly, you don't have to be a stud like Jake just go out there and do it, man. So for everybody out there, go out there and do it. And thanks for taking the ride right here on the Outdoor Drive.